Welcome to Intimacy with the Lord. I appreciate you for tuning in. I want to ask you a question today. Have you been accused falsely before? Have there been a time in your life where you are accused of doing something or you are misunderstood? And it will take only God to prove you, only God to vindicate you. There are lots of people like that in different times in their lives, even in their relationships. They've been misunderstood, they've been, lied against, they've been falsely accused, and it was generally believed. It can only take God. We have people today that are in prison, for being accused for something they were innocent of, and nobody can prove them. Every circumstance, everything is pointing to the fact that they committed that crime. But only God, who can see the unseen, can, attest to the fact that they are innocent. We also have an account like that in the Bible where a woman was falsely accused by both individuals and society. We're going to look at what happened and how she handled it, and we're going to be learning some lessons here. Let's go to Genesis chapter 38 and verse 6 to 7. To understand the background, let's start from verse 4. Judah's wife had another son, and she named him Onan. And when she had a third son, she named him Shelah. At the time of Shelah's birth, they were living at Kezib. Now look at verse 6. When his oldest son, grew up, Judah arranged his marriage to a young woman named Tamar. This man arranged for the son to marry a woman called Tamar, a young woman. Verse 7. But was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. We're not made to understand what the wickedness was. We're not told. The account in Genesis 38 verse 7 just says that was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took him. I'd like to check this out in Message translation. He said, but Judah's first son, grievously offended God, and God took his life. That's Message translation. He offended God. Whatever the offense is, nobody knows. The wife, I'm sure she's also innocent. But he was married to Tamar. And then he did wickedness in the eyes of the Lord, and the Bible says the Lord took him. So he died. Now in verse 8, then Judah said to Er's brother Onan, you must marry Tamar as our law requires of the brother of a man who has died. Her first son from you will be your brother's heir. It's allowed in those days. The first son that he gets from this widow of his brother will be his brother's son before he will start getting his own children from this woman. That was the custom then. But Onan was not willing to have a child who would not be his own heir. So whenever he had intercourse with Tamar, he spilled the semen on the ground to keep her from having a baby who will belong to his brother. Remember, this is happening inside their house in the secret place between him and his wife. The father did not know. The father-in-law did not know. The wife might not even know. Maybe she will know. Maybe she may not know. Then look at verse 10 of the same Genesis 38. But the Lord considered it a wicked thing for Onan to deny a child to his dead brother. So the Lord took Onan's life too. Imagine. Then Judah told Tamar, his daughter-in-law, not to marry again at that time, but to return to her parents' home. She was to remain a widow until his younger son Shelah was old enough to marry her. But Judah didn't really intend to do this because he was afraid Shelah will also die like his two brothers. So Tamar went home to her parents. Put yourself in the shoe of Tamar. You married the first husband, he died. You married the second husband, he died. The same parents. Two brothers from the same father and mother have died on your head as a wife. If it is in our today's society, in our custom, in our native law, what do you think will be happening to that woman? They were not sick. They didn't have accident. Nothing happened. Everybody, I can bet you that everybody will be looking at that woman as the suspect. They'll be looking at her as the one who is killing the men. Even ordinarily in our society today, without even maybe first one dying and second one dying, once a man dies, the first suspect is the wife. I've seen some customs and tradition where they will tell the wife to come and swear by the juju of the community, to come and swear by the shrine of the community that she does not have a hand in the death of her husband. I've seen some very terrible custom in our country where they will bathe the man, the corpse of the husband, the dead husband, and they will ask the wife, as a proof that you don't have a hand in the death of your husband, come and drink the water that they used to bathe him. I've seen cases where they will lock up the woman with the corpse, with her husband's corpse, for some days in the room alone to prove that she's innocent. And women go through all manner of things in the name of tradition and custom just to prove innocence. Immediately a man dies, the first suspect is his wife. Why will a woman want to kill her husband in a normal marriage setting? But here you have Tamar. She married the first guy. The Bible said the guy was wicked to the Lord. In the eyes of the Lord took him. It was God that took him. This poor innocent girl has no hand in the death of this man. But nobody knows. Nobody knows that it was God that took him. They only know that this guy is dead. She's a widow. Then they said, okay, since there was no child raised for the man that died, let the brother go and marry this woman so that he can have a son for his late brother in the name of his late brother. And then he can also have sons or children for himself. The guy said, why will I give my first son, my first blood, to my elder brother? Why won't my first child be my heir? So when he meets with this woman, he'll pour the semen out so that she will never be pregnant. The Bible said the Lord judged it as wickedness and killed him. The woman will just be surprised. Why is it that every man that marries me dies? If it's in our day, they will begin to tell you his ancestral causes, is this, is that, come and go, come and do this. Begin to offer solutions. When you are falsely accused, look at the eye. Now look at what happened. Immediately, the second guy died. The man has 3 sons. 2 are already dead. But remember that this woman is innocent of their death. We have an account of what happened, but nobody knows. So ordinarily, the proper thing would have been that the 3rd son could have still married this lady so that he can raise children for his late brothers through this woman. Through his late brothers' wives. They can have children in the name of the dead sons. So what they did is that the father-in-law now called the lady. He said, please come and go to your father's house. Come and go back to your father's house before you kill all my 3 children. Because they suspected that she's the one. Maybe there's a bad whatever following her that is killing the guys. Say, come and go to your father's house. I can imagine the stigma that this woman will be walking around with. I can imagine a lot of comments that will be going on behind her back. I can imagine that people will be telling stories. Oh, she has married the first one, he died. Married the second one. Any man that marries her, the man will die. You. If you put head, you are a dead man. Have you not heard that the 2 men that married her? So I can imagine the stigma. I can imagine the accusation. I can imagine the kind of treatment this woman will be getting in the community, in the society where she lives. The man, if you read down, you will see that the man refused. That guy, he told her, before this one will grow, and when he grows, I will come call you back, then he can marry you, but let him grow first. My 3rd son is not yet matured enough to marry. When he's matured enough to marry, then we'll come and marry you. It was just a way of sending her back to her parents. And she left. But if you continue reading that story, you will see what happened. We're going to look at the end of this story in part 2. I'd like you to look forward, watch out for the second part of the story of Tamar. When you are accused falsely, who will vindicate you? When you are accused and society has labeled you, who can speak for you? Who can vindicate you except God? But God surely vindicated her. We'll look at that in part 2. The same encounter befell Joseph when the wife of Potiphar lied against him and he landed in prison. There are such cases where only God can vindicate you. Only God can speak on your behalf. And when you find yourself in that situation, what should you do? We're going to be looking at that in the part 2 of this message. Meanwhile, check out my video on the love story of Mary. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. You can see the link in the description below. You don't want to miss that. I'd like you to go and check it out and keep tuning in for very interesting and impactful messages from this channel. The Lord bless you. See you next time.